morning and welcome to Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. You know who I am. I'm Dr. Angela Buckchester, and you know what I like to do on my show. I want to enlighten, inspire, and empower you to become your best self. Now, Scripture reminds us that the tongue is a small thing that makes grand speeches, but a tiny spark can set a great forest on fire. And today, we want to get you fired up. My guest today is author ST Holmes, and we're talking about her book, Creole Moon. So let me tell you a little bit more about ST. She was born and raised in New Orleans and was educated in the Catholic school system there before heading off to college in North Carolina. She has 2 bachelor's degrees, one in biology, the other in accounting, and a master's in business management. Her job in corporate finance keeps her very busy, she says, but she finds time to delve into her passion for writing. Now, ST came up with the storyline for Creole Moon one night while driving down an old winding river road between New Orleans and Monterey. Now, it was an early fall night and a full moon. The moon glowed a bright golden color with a reddish-orange ring around it. Well, ST immediately thought of voodoo spells and the swamps that led to the creation of Creole Moon. When ST is not working or writing, she is spending time with her family. Now, she loves to hear from her fans, so when we get to that point, I want you to listen in because she's going to give her contact information and she wants to hear from you. Now, you know what I'm about to say. Go on, get comfy, get cozy, get your coffee and get your tea because we are about to get started. Good morning, ST. Thank you so much for spending time with me here on Daily Spark.
Good morning, Dr. Angela. Nice to be here.
I love the title of your book. Personally, I have a family that is in New Orleans. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. So great to talk to you a little bit more. Now, I have to ask you, with someone who has decided that not only do they want to get 1 degree and a master's, you have got 2 bachelors and a master's. Folks always ask me, man, you were in school forever. So I want to ask you, why did you choose the route that you chose when it came to your education?
Well, Dr. Angela, I really wanted to be a physician. It was one of the goals. My ultimate dream was to become a surgeon. And while I was in college, I did pursue a medical degree, but I met my husband, and he wasn't very interested in marrying a career woman. So I wound up changing my concentration. Well, you know that they say get your MRS degree.
Right.
So I changed my degree, got a degree in biology, and then realized, well, there's not an awful lot you can do with that. You have to go to med school or you have to teach or something. So
Right.
I went to medical technology school. So I'm a certified and registered medical technologist and did that for a number of years, worked with some of the leading physicians in the city, and then decided with all the government changes and things going on, I needed to go back to school to get some information in business.
Right.
Fell in love with accounting. Just couldn't believe how much I loved it. And it was contagious. I kept taking one class and then another class. And then before I knew it, I was taking 2 classes. I was working all day and then going to school at night. And then I said, well, wow, I've done this now. I might as well go on and get the other degree. So that's what I did.
I love it. I love it. And it's funny because you said you had no idea that this would turn into a passion, that you would be so successful at doing that. That's awesome.
Exactly. I couldn't believe that here is something that I have found. No one said anything when I was in high school. Everything was about math and science and becoming an engineer or some type of scientist. No one said anything about being an accountant or a bookkeeper. And then that became my passion. Loved
Wow.
it.
Well,
Loved
I'll tell you, we definitely need more women that are able to crunch the numbers and give us that financial report, that broadcast, and be able to say, hey, this is what you need to do with your money. This is what you need to do with your life. So you are definitely filling a space that needs to be filled there. Now, kind of switching over to being an author. When did you realize that you had been bitten by the writer's bug?
Kind of funny because the whole time I was in high school, I was writing. I was obsessed with Shakespeare, Keats, and Shelley, and so I would read. Those became my friends, to tell you the truth. I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, so I turned to reading Greek mythology, the Iliad and the Odyssey, and just getting myself involved in academic, the readings. And then I started writing, and then when I was a junior in high school, I started writing plays and performing. I was in the drama club. So I've always had that passion. But then I realized going to school, there are a lot of starving artists in the world, and I needed to do something that was going to generate revenue. Just didn't like living on the street, so I decided to make a career out of the business in medicine and accounting. But my children, I tell you, my children were very instrumental in my writing because I kept telling these wild tales as they grew up. I would just drive down the street, make up things, and my kids said, "Mom, why don't you write?" And I said, "Oh, why don't I? I put this crazy, lively imagination and make it work." And so that's exactly what I did. Instead of telling kids stories, I started making up these wild things.
Well, I love it. It's amazing how God can give us such yin and yang, such apple and oranges when it comes to our personality, and how so many people just assume that because you have a love for the numbers that you wouldn't be an imaginative person, that you wouldn't want to create these magnificent stories, but yet each one has a proper function and purpose in your life. And I think that's amazing. I love that. I love that. Now, speaking of your writing, your books have racked up a number of awards. How did it feel when you realized I have not only written a successful book, but I have an award-winning book?
You know, the first time I got the an honorable mention award, I looked at this and said, wow, all right, so that person, there's something wrong with that person. I mean, I figured, okay, there's just not really that great. But as I entered more contests and the book kept getting more awards, and I kept thinking, maybe I'm not the weird one. Of course, I know I am, but I kept thinking there are other weird people. There are other weird people out there, and they liked the book, and it was very encouraging. And I will tell you, there was this one premier review company that for books that a lot of writers use. It's expensive, but it's I don't know if you've heard of Kirkus Review, and I thought surely these guys are going to shoot this book down. These guys talk about and read thousands of books and give book reviews, and when they came back and told me good concept, they loved the characters, I needed to have it better edited, and I had just submitted the rough manuscript. And when I got that notice back, I kept thinking, there must be something to this. And it was more encouraging for me to sit down and finalize the book. And then, of course, I started thinking of other characters to develop. And thus, I have created, this is a series. So Creole Moon is a series. So the first two books are out, the Betrayal and Book of Ruth. The third one we're working on, we're planning to release next year, so hopefully they'll come looking for it. It's The Kiss of the Pythia. That's the name, Creole Moon, Kiss of the Pythia.
I love it. Yeah. Now,
Little weird.
when you go to the Amazon page, now, of course, listeners, you guys know I'm not going to bring you an author whose book is not on Amazon, because I know that's like the number one spot to get your book.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Because I know that's where I go to get my books.
If there's anything out there, your Amazon will have it.
Absolutely. Now,
Exactly.
I love the cover of your book because not only does it have this beautiful blood moon, but it also kind of gives you that swampy, river mist kind of feel. Why was it important to have that type of cover for your book?
Well, I wanted to portray some form of mystique or mysticism. The swamp does that, but the swamp just was too dark, looking at the water and the moon, and I wanted to give someone a chance to look at the cover and say, what is really going on here? And if you notice the covers, both books have basically the same colors, and that's because I chose the colors of Mardi Gras: green, gold, and purple. So those are the colors of Mardi Gras, and they will tie both books together simply by the color.
Very smart.
Yeah, and then with the second book of Ruth, it actually revolves around the Mardi Gras season, and so I try to explain what's going on at Mardi Gras and tie it to what's going on with the characters in the book. And
I love
weird
it.
And a weird festival.
So smart. No, I think that totally makes sense because, like you said, even with the colors alone, the person could easily go, yeah, this has to be the same person, even if they didn't remember your name, but they only remembered the Creole Moon portion. They would look at it and go, these books have the same color. There's no way that's happenstance. This has to be the book that I'm looking for. Very smart. Hey, aspiring authors out there, I hope you pick that up. I love it.
There you go.
One of the reviews stated that your stories seem to be very allegorical. What is the hidden message in your book? And did you do it on purpose?
I did, because everyone talks about love and wanting to find love, and our young people are thinking sex is love, and I wanted our young people to understand that it's something so much more than the superficial, the physical, that there are things that people will do, whether you are of the mortal world or the immortal world. You are driven by this emotion called love. And so the book revolves around finding love, losing love, the reasons we lose love, and then what can we do to gain it again. So there's the first book talks about this young man, the hero, that was actually thrown into a romantic situation through spells. He never wanted to be in love. He has a twin brother. I play on the twin aspect because I'm a twin. So he has a twin brother. He came back for his twin brother's wedding, but he really didn't believe in weddings. He didn't want to do this. And he was thrown into a romantic environment through a spell cast by a voodoo priest and priestess. And these people live in the swamp. Thus, we call this the whole thing about the swamp. So the book deals with voodoo, mysticism, Greek mythology, Roman and Greek mythology, and it's woven into the 18th century the 19th century around the Civil War, and then I have the history from the Civil War, because that's a weird time in our history.
I definitely want to talk to you a little bit more about that aspect and how you're able to weave all of those aspects together. But it is time for us to go to break, and I definitely want to give you time to expound on that. Now, ST, before we go to break, could you please remind everyone what is the title of your book, where can we get a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Okay, so the books are called Creole Moon, The Betrayal, and Creole Moon, Book of Roots. They can be found at any online store, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Google. They are ebooks and paperback. And if anyone wants to get in touch with me, you can contact me through my email, SueTropath@Yahoo. I have a website. They can go out to my website, www.stholmes.com.
All righty, listeners, now you know where you can pick up a copy of the book. We'll be back right after this.
Being with Infants by Montessori teacher trainer and world-renowned child specialist Beverly Kovach is finally on DVD and digital download. The long-awaited 3D disc set is essential for any new parent, grandparent, or infant caregiver wanting respectful relationships with infants and their care. Being with Infants is broken down into 20 easy-to-digest video lessons, complete with demonstrations. Everything from diapering, feeding, the proper way of picking up infants, sleep, crying, environment, play, weaning, and much more are covered. Being with Infants is available on DVD and digital download at Walmart, Target, Barnes & Noble, and Amazon. Order today and be sure to follow Being with Infants on Facebook for free bonus content.
And we are back. Thank you so much for joining me for Daily Spark with Dr. Angela. I am your host, Dr. Angela Bucks-Chester. You know I'm trying to enlighten you, inspire you, and empower you. And today I am getting you fired up about a series of books called Creole Moon. The author is ST Holmes, and we're talking about not only Creole Moon, The Betrayal, but also Creole Moon, Book of Roots. Now, ST, I want to ask you a little bit more, and we kind of touched on it before we went to break, and how you have managed to intertwine various bits and pieces of our culture, of history, and all of that. You were talking about the ancient gods and goddesses. You're talking about voodoo. We're talking about culture. How did you decide what aspects you wanted to add, or how did the storyline take the twists and turns that it did?
Okay. Well, again, because of Louisiana and the slaves always dealt with voodoo, I thought that would be a perfect subject matter that I could weave into the book. So thus, I created my characters, Mamushka and Ophelia, as the priest and priestess. So they are the ones practicing voodoo. George and the heroine Joella are everyday, normal people. But Joella is a mulatta, and so she has believes in voodoo. George doesn't. And so these two characters come together simply because Mamushka and his wife Ophelia are out trying to play a game on the humans, because they're immortal. The other people are humans. And then I thought about it and I said, well, it's not just Mamushka. Voodoo is a type of religion, and it has to come from or stem from gods and goddesses. And going to a Catholic school, we learned and prayed to different statues, the Archangel and the Virgin Mary. So I decided, well, if it's okay in the Catholic Church, then I can sit and take these characters and say there has to be gods and goddesses that interacted with the voodoo priest and priest. So I've married these two types of religions together to create this book. Okay, so and so taking Latin in high school gave me the opportunity to understand who these Greeks and Roman gods and goddesses are. And it just allowed me to expand that knowledge, do more research, and say, I want to bring them into the book. Now, I will tell you I've changed names. I have made up things. So some of the gods and goddesses will have the names from the Roman and Greek mythology, but some of them don't. So my character, Valera, I take from Latin, that means volume. So she is the goddess of the wind and the hurricanes. Hurricanes are normal in Louisiana.
Yes.
Okay. So if you'll see that I have names that I've made up actually from Latin that translate to what they mean in English. So I'm a little weird, as I said. I just take things and say, well, I can do this. This makes sense. I can do this. And that's how I married them together. And then I looked at, pardon me?
I was going to say, it really makes people use their imagination. For the person who's naturally inquisitive, or they've never heard such a name, and then they go, oh, let me Google that. What does that mean? Where did she get that from? I wonder if that's a real name. I like that. So I love that. It's just another layer that you've added to the book. That's awesome.
Exactly. And it's kind of funny because I talked to some people at one of the local universities here. It was a literary class, and they actually told me, we were looking up this name, my character, the alter ego, the lexicon. I said, we can't find what the lexicon is. And I said, because it doesn't exist other than in my head. It's a combination of words out of Latin that I've created to make him the light beast. So it doesn't exist other than my head and in that book.
And look at how you are already touching the lives of others, because someone was so inquisitive. That name is going to have an effect on someone. They're like, yep, this is it. And I love how so many times people will be inspired, especially by mythology, and before you know it, you have a group of dogs named Zeus, and you have a few, cats that are named Olympia. It just ends up turning out to be this wonderful thing because they came across this story that changed their world. So I can understand that. Now, speaking of books, and I don't always ask this question, but so many times authors have favorite authors. Are there any authors that have inspired you along the way, perhaps to write this book, or not necessarily to write the particular storyline, but just to write in general?
Yes, to answer your question, yes. I have a huge library of books. I have so many books, they're in boxes, I can't get them out. But one of my favorite writers is Nora Roberts, and she writes under Nora Roberts. She also writes under J.D. Robb, and she writes, I love the way she develops her characters, and that is one of the things that drew me into writing and being more descriptive, because I could read her books and understand how she developed the characters, not just tell you, here is this character, here is what they're doing, but actually describe the character. You can envision what this person looks like by the actions that this person takes. And so that is one of the things that I actually took from her. I took a class with Writer's Digest. because I wanted to understand how to develop my characters better. Yes.
Yeah.
So it's a combination of taking a class, saying, okay, here's another way. Instead of saying this, say it a different way, but let us imagine what this person looks like. Let us use our imagination and see what we think this is going on. And so that is how I write even the scenes in the book. I'm very detailed with the descriptive scenes so that you can envision being in the same location that the characters are in, and now see how these people are moving because of what's going on.
Yeah.
So it's a whole setup. It's a whole setup for you.
Now, would you say that within the story, have you taken some bits and pieces of your own life and kind of added it in, or have you decided not to do that?
Yes, I have done that, and I explained to the lady that's my editor. She said, well, how do you know what they're doing? I said, I'm sort of schizophrenic. When I get into this writing zone, I become that character. And so I'm sitting in front of my computer, and it's as if I am actually the one interacting in the story.
But I think that gives the character so much depth and personality that you could tell that, oh my goodness, this person is really writing not only from a place of imagination, but there's a passion that goes behind this. You can tell when the author is enjoying their book as much as you are reading it, because you don't want to put it down. You know, I've had books where I have literally struggled, and it has taken me a week to read the first chapter. But I've had other books where I could not wait to take a moment because I wanted to get back to that book. Now, I like audiobooks, and I like, the Kindles and all of that, but I also like a tangible book that I can kind of cozy up with. And boy, it's like, put the pot roast on because I want to finish this chapter. So, yeah.
Exactly.
It makes a difference. It really, really does.
And to answer the question you asked earlier about how did it make me feel, when I had one lady that read the book and she sent a note back to me saying, I stayed up all night and read this book in one night. And I sat, and she says, every time I said, okay, I'm going to read this chapter, and I'll put it down, she said, you ended the chapter where I had to see, well, what was going on next? Well, what's going on next? And she said, I was up all night reading this book, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean for you to lose your sleep, but you did exactly what I wanted to happen. Right. And that's what I told someone. I want my books to transport you away from what you're doing on a regular basis and become absorbed in the book. And if you're absorbed in this book, you're going to forget about everything else around you. And that's what I want.
I love it. And, that's how people speak about great authors. A really good author, a really good book, and, people out there who are really into books. Your favorite author pops into your head. And one of the reasons why you like that particular author is because the books draw you in. You don't want to put it down or put your phone down or, turn it down. However you're choosing to consume your book, you don't want to stop because that author has poured themselves into that book. And I think about the various people, the different authors that I really enjoy, be that it's for leisure or for information, like for knowledge sake. I don't want to put the book down because a good book is a good book. I love it. Now, ST, we only have about a minute or so left in the show, and I want to give you an opportunity to just, is there anything in particular that you want for your readers to get out of the book, or is there any bit of nugget of wisdom that you would like to pass on to someone who is an aspiring author?
You know, the main thing, the little tidbit that I would like to share is don't give up your dream. I've talked to so many people, and they're always saying, oh, I would love to write a book. Don't just say, I would love to write a book. Sit down and put your thoughts on paper. You start off by just rambling. Just put things on paper. And then after you have all of these little scribbles on paper, go back and look at it and figure out how can you weave a story around it. Everyone has some imagination. Some of us just happen to develop it a little better than others, but every one of us has a story in us somewhere that we can tell. I would say draw on that. Look at the people around you that you interact with and develop a character. Bits and pieces from each person can actually become a good character or a good part of a story. I do that. I observe people constantly. I do want to share one other thing with you before we leave. And I have had a gentleman from Universal Studios approach me, and he wants to write the screenplay for Book of Roots. So it is actually in the making. So hopefully we'll have a movie coming out of Creole Moon, Book of Roots, sometime next year or the year after. It takes him a while to write the script.
That is amazing. So I am going to help you claim it, receive it, and shout of praise about it. That is amazing.
Yay. Thank you.
Definitely. Yes, and it does take a while for those things to happen. And I know that I can say from personal experience, I have had some amazing things happen. I've prayed for something, and it came to fruition 3, 4, 5 years later. But it happened. And not only did it happen the way that I wanted it to happen, God gave me pressed down, running over. You know, so it is.
There you go.
It's not just what I wanted, but it is so much more. So that is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Well, ST, I know that it is time for us to go, but I want to give you an opportunity one last time, if you would please, to remind everyone, what is the title to your series, where can we pick up a copy, and how do we stay in contact with you?
Okay, so the books are called Creole Moon, The Betrayal, Creole Moon, Book of Roots, and there are book trailer videos on YouTube. So if you go out to YouTube, query Creole Moon, The Betrayal, or Creole Moon, Book of Roots, get an idea of what is going on in the book from the videos. And the books can be purchased at Amazon.com, at Barnes & Noble. And people, I love to hear from you. So send me a note. Jot down anything that's going on and give me some ideas about how to improve the book. Contact me at SueTropaz@yahoo.com.
I love it. Thank you so much, ST, for being on Daily Spark with Dr. Angela today.
And thanks for having me, Dr. Angela. Love being here.
Thank you. And listeners, I have enjoyed you spending time with me as well. As always, may the Lord continue to shine His face upon you. May you receive His grace and His mercy in all that you do. Until next time, everyone, continue to be blessed in the Lord. Bye-bye.